Hello, everybody. It is Friday, January 20th, 2023, and we're back with the Wrestling Republic Daily broadcast. I've had a couple of days off from the show, but I'm back now, and I'm joined today by Soul. How are you, Soul?
Oh, good as ever, my friend. Knackered. I was out drinking last night, so not got much of a hangover, but I'm just a bit bleh, you know.
Yeah, I'm going out tonight myself, so I'm going to be the exact same way you're feeling tomorrow. But yeah, we've got a great show for you guys today. But firstly, Soul, I believe you've got a bit of an announcement about the Soul Sessions.
Oh yes, very well. As we know, 2 episodes ago we announced Renzo Rose, Italian-born wrestler, would be one of the guests appearing on the show. We delayed our next announcement due to the passing of Jay Briscoe, but we're here to announce it now. The next guest for the Soul Sessions after Renzo Rose will be Brooke Havoc, leader of the Emo Head, one of the first to be trained by Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall out of the Nightmare Factory. We delve into her time at the Nightmare Factory, her matches against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD on AEW Dark, as well as having a match against Layla Hirsch, which Cody walked her out to the ring for. And that was not planned at all. So she details her surprise at Cody doing that for her. As well, we also detail her having an injury and how she was able to relate to Cody with his torn pec injury at Hell in a Cell. And finally, as well, we mentioned about her boyfriend, former guest of the show, Alan Angels, and which couple tag team they both would like to face. So it's going to be a great episode that maybe come out about 2 weeks after Renzo Rose, but hey, we're on the right track for season 2 of the Soul Sessions.
Absolutely, and I'm so excited to hear about more of the guests, and we will be hearing about more in the upcoming weeks. Got a few exciting ones planned as well. But Melissa is here in the comments. Hello, welcome to Wrestling Republic Daily. Make sure you guys to leave comments, and we will answer all your comments or whatever as we go through the show. But firstly, let's talk about WWE 2K23. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, Microsoft Store Data Miner, let me try and pronounce this, Aggiornamenti Lumia, has revealed in a now deleted tweet that a cross-gen of the game will be released for Xbox consoles on March 17th. And here is the cover. So as you can see, it is John Cena on the cover. Quite an interesting one. And yeah, it's a bit of a surprise that he's on the cover. The rumor is that he's now going to be the showcase as well, which I guess makes sense considering he's on the cover. But he's only had one match in WWE this year, so it does slightly surprise me. What are your thoughts on it, Sol?
I mean, I'm shocked this isn't, the Bloodline or someone who's actually been on TV more frequently. But Cena, I mean, I think we debuted before that we were thinking that the showcase mode was going to be Edge and Orton or something like that. Just because apparently this is Edge's final year as well, and what a way to honor the man than have him a game cover and a showcase mode. But I don't get Cena unless something's happening with Cena this year that we're not aware of. Is he coming back for his final run? Going to try and break Ric Flair's 16 World Championships? Or do they just want the most marketable guy they know who will sell copies being on the cover? I mean, I'm honestly puzzled by it. I have no clue. I mean, I hope we just don't get 16 versions of Cena with different colored t-shirts now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, it's the case of he will sell more copies of the game, and I mean, as long as the game is good, yeah, we shouldn't really complain about it, I guess. But it is a puzzling one, and like you said, the Bloodline would have made a great choice for the cover. They've been they've been the faces of WWE this year. I guess the worry is maybe the Bloodline will have split up by then. And of course, 2K don't know what the plans are creatively for WWE. But it is a bit of a puzzling one. But one thing, Saul, which I wanted to ask you, because I know you are a big gamer, right? What would you like to see implemented to wrestling games and for 2K to implement that perhaps hasn't been implemented so far by any wrestling game developer?
Oof, that is a tough one to say. I mean, the only things I can really think of are it would be involving other companies and allowing them to have their own little showcase modes, but that will never happen under WWE. So the only thing I can really think of on the top of my head is probably a My Career mode that's like My Rise, but you get to implement economics into it. So basically, it's money management. Like you have to manage your fuel traveling to different towns. You have to manage money for buying gear, repairing gear, and making sure you get paid by the booker your full amount, trying to put on 5-star matches to get the highest amount of pay. So like a whole money management, like manager system, I think would be a good implementation for a single player mode.
That actually does sound very, very fun. Cause then it would make the money and stuff mean more, I guess. I've already spoke about it before, but I really, really hope that they improve my GM quite drastically and make it a bit more football manager-esque almost. I know obviously they'd be slightly. I don't expect them to make a big jump and it suddenly to be that good and that detailed, but I really do think that my GM last year was disappointing, and I think there's a lot more they can do with that mode because I almost think that mode has, alongside my career or my rise, the most potential of anything. But yeah, Melissa in the comments, I made a mess of that name. She said, you made a mess of pronouncing that name. Let me try it one more time. It's gonna be just as bad, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Agio Nomenti Lumia. I think I still botched it, but you know,
it's an Xbox gamer tag.
Yeah,
you're never gonna get them.
If somebody's watching the show, if that person's watching the show, or that I don't even know if it's. I'm not even sure if that's a person or if it's a games company. But if anybody knows, let us know, and maybe you can come on the show and teach us how to say the name. But anyway, right, let's get in now to the next segment. Obviously, this week we had the tragic news of the passing of Jay Briscoe. But one thing, quite frankly, really annoyed me this week. And that is that Warner Brothers Discovery, according to Dave Meltzer, would not let AEW do a tribute show for Jay Briscoe on AEW Dynamite. And this was because of his past homophobic comments, which of course were disgusting. Nobody is denying that. But he apologized for them. And this is years and years ago. And he apologized for them multiple times. And multiple people around him have said that he is not in any way homophobic. And he's done a lot since to, make up for those disgusting comments he made back in the day. But if they were just not to, if Warner Brothers Discovery were not to let him because of that, that's one thing. But they're letting Dana White do his power slap series a week after slapping his own wife. So that's fine. But somebody doing something 9 years ago, which they've apologized for multiple times, that's not fine. I don't really understand it at all. I think Warner Brothers Discovery, I think they're only woke when it benefits them financially. That's all I will say on the matter. It very much did frustrate me. But Dave Meltzer said in the Wrestling Observer today that this past year there were many attempts to get the Briscoes on AEW television. They were flown in a few times to television, but they weren't allowed to be used. There were plans for them on the All Out card in Chicago. Originally, it was meant to be FTR and Wardlow versus the Briscoes and Jay Lethal. But because they couldn't promote it on TV, they decided to bring in the Motor City Machine Guns instead. And yeah, I mean, it really does frustrate me. And for those of you guys who don't know what Jay Briscoe said about the past homophobic tweet, he had not acknowledged this last year, and he apologized for it at the time, and he's apologized for it many times since. But this is his most recent time he commented on it. He said, "I want to say thank you to the people who really know us. We get labeled as homophobes. I put out a stupid tweet 9 years ago, the most dumbest, immature, obnoxious shit I've done in my life. I don't want anybody from any walk of life to feel like they can't care for the Briscoes, because I promise we love everybody. We love everybody, and we just want to go out there and be pro wrestlers and give the best match we can. I said some dumb shit a long time ago. I apologize for it, and I'll apologize again. It was stupid. I feel like now there are people who look at us like we can't cheer for them because we hate a certain group of people. We don't hate nobody. We love everybody, and we're just some country boys. I thought I was taking a stand for the Lord back in the day." And yeah, that's what he said about these comments. But clearly, Warner Brothers, they didn't want to forgive him for it. But they can forgive Dana White just a week after slapping his wife, and then put a show about slapping people produced by Dana White with Dana White's name in the title on television just a week later. It really, really did annoy me this week. But what are your thoughts on this entire situation, Sol?
So the thing about this is, yes, Jay Briscoe said those things, but he's done something that no other people usually do when they have these sort of thoughts. He grew, he evolved, he understood they were wrong, and he apologized. Some wrestlers and even some people double down and say, I wasn't in the wrong. I'm always right. But no, Jay understood that he was wrong, and then grew as a person. We all grow each and every day. And you've seen people like Effie, say like, he was the kindest man ever, and full respect to him. And I don't want anyone dragging his name in the mud now. No longer he's here. He was a good man, and he evolved from that. I mean, Discovery, Warner Bros. Discovery, it's just a piece of shit move, honestly. I mean, some people say, oh, but Dana White make them money. Well, look at the slap fight ratings. The Dynamite was 969,000. That slap show was like 200,000. So like 700,000 people falling off from Dynamite to the slap show. I don't think Dana White's making you money, Warner Bros. Discovery, and people are turning on him. I do respect Tony Khan highly for what he did with that Ring of Honor tribute show. If people don't know, there's a Ring of Honor tribute show for Jay recorded after Rampage, and it was apparently on the fly book and had to get people in as quick as he can. And massive respect to Tony for that. I see people shit on Tony a lot, saying he's a man-child, he's just too hyper and all that. Like, do you not want somebody who actually loves wrestling making a wrestling show? Or do you want some corporate shadow guy who is just there to make a profit? Tony really does care about wrestling, and I think wrestling fans need to understand that, yes, he's a man who cares and he truly enjoys what he does. Stop being an arsehole. But yeah, I wish, saying that you had to know about Jay, the Briscoes doing an All Out, that would have been awesome. I know I've not been a fan of All Out, but that would have been awesome to see as well. It's just a pure shame that they were never be able to get on a bigger stage that they full rightly deserve as the great tag team they were.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to get more into Tony Khan later on in this episode. But yeah, honestly, full credit to him for doing that ROH tribute show, considering it wasn't allowed on Dynamite. At first, when I first heard about it, I presumed, like anybody would, because I was like, surely the Warner Brothers wouldn't have an issue with a tribute show. So I presumed that TK made the decision to not do that, and I was slightly annoyed. But after the details come out, he wasn't allowed to do it on Dynamite, so he decided to do a separate show. Full credit to him, and I'm looking forward to watching it. But yeah, obviously it's a really difficult situation, and Daniel Price here in the comment is saying, should Jay's tweet have been held over his head forever? No, but Warner was trying to cover their backside with preemptive damage control due to the Briscoes' history with a hot mic. It is what it is. And he also said this, because the Dana White show, even if it has a crap premise, was already planned to air before the slapping, which both he and his wife were in the wrong for. Incident occurred. Even if it's planned to air, they can still scrap it. That's what we're saying about AEW all the time. It could get taken off air at any given point. Yes, you still have to pay a certain amount, but it could still be cancelled. And usually in the contracts, that clause means you would pay off a lot less than what you actually would fully do. So again, it's financial gain. It's financial gain. That's what it's about here. The Jay Briscoe's thing, it's ridiculous. Like, okay, it's one thing, right? Honestly, it's one thing to not let him come on AEW Dynamite. It's another thing to once the man has passed away tragically, to not let them do a tribute show for him. That is the part which frustrates me the most in all of this, and I've really, really soured on Warner Brothers Discovery after this. It's a real shame. And yeah, I mean, it really does frustrate me in every single way of looking at it. I can try and look at it more positively, I guess, and be like, they were just trying to, prevent themselves due to their history, swearing and stuff on the mic. But once the man's passed away, really. Mm-hmm. But I mean, again, this all comes from Dave Meltzer. We don't know it for a fact, obviously, and I need to clarify that. But I'm sure somebody would have corrected it by now if it was wrong. But let's move on now to a bit more of an interesting segment, right? Nick Khan has done an interview this week, and it's his first interview since Vince McMahon has returned. It was actually a very, very interesting interview, and Tony Khan was brought up during it, the owner of All Elite Wrestling. And sorry, I need to clarify this for those of you guys who don't know who Nick Khan is. He's the vice president of WWE. Co-CEO of WWE. I need to stop getting that one mixed up because it is a significant difference. But yeah, he's the co-CEO of WWE, Nick Khan. And he spoke about AEW owner and CEO Tony Khan. Now, Tony Khan has spoken about Nick Khan in the past and said that they met once and it was lovely and all of this, and he's a good guy. But then, as Tony Khan typically does, he went on to diss WWE. You're going to have to, you got to expect that the two companies are going to bicker. It's just business. But Nick Khan threw it back during this interview, and he said, when asked about Tony Khan, "I've never met the kid. Tony Khan seems like a nice kid to me. I don't know him. I have met his dad, who randomly I sat next to at some sports business lunch that Stephanie McMahon and I went to a year and a half ago. I thought the dad was impressive as could be. I think there was a piece on him in the New York Times a year or so prior to that, a self-made billionaire. I believe Pakistani immigrant. I could not be more impressed with him. However, I will say this. I know anyone could run a business at a loss if somebody keeps financing it." So very clearly a diss there at Tony Khan and the fact that AEW is still yet to make a clear profit. But yeah, he then went on to clarify that he's not seen AEW's books, so he can't, comment financially. But it was blatantly at Tony Khan when he said that. Now, of course, Soul, you're a big AEW fan. You're a big fan of Tony Khan himself. What would you say in response to Nick Khan for this?
Well, I mean, hey, I've met Tony Khan in person as well, and he was nothing but kind and humble when I spoke to him during Revolution Weekend last year. So I can only go from personal experience. Seems like a cool dude. He was really humble and everything. Talked to us about AEW as well, and just being thankful we were all there to watch the dark tapings that night. But this is just corporate bickering pretty much. It's it's like, yeah, we can respect the competition, but we gotta make ourselves look good because you don't know who's ever listening to these sort of things, advertisers and all that crap. But no, I mean, like, I got more respect for Tony Khan than Nick Khan just because I can see Tony actually likes wrestling. Well, Nick Khan's more about I like media and producing media in itself. You can tell which one's the actual wrestling fan and one is the corporate overlord just brought in to make up the books a little more tidy. I mean, yeah, that's all I really got to say on it. It's just corporate talk at the end of the day. You're mute, bud.
Whoops. Do you think that perhaps there is a space, though, do you think the wrestling companies do need a guy like Nick Khan who can, come in and make sure that, the business is running smoothly from a business perspective, or then letting the creative guys take care of creative?
Oh, absolutely. I can completely understand that as well. At the end of the day, companies need to make money to pay talent and pay costs and everything as well. But I believe the owner of the company should love the product they're making. You can clearly see that back in the day, Vince fell out of love with the product, and he was just there because it's what he knows best and what he needs to produce to keep the lights on. I could fully understand if Tony needs to bring on someone from Warner Brothers Media just to help corporate synergy or to help, give the proper show and flagline, headline show that TNT and Warner and Turner's expecting them to do. Which I mean, you've just seen there, AEW Dynamite, beat this power slap thing, 700,000 viewers that they were expecting Dana White to bring home the financials, but apparently not so, bud.
Not at all. And Daniel Price here in the comments is saying Nick basically proved that Tony Khan lies a lot. I mean, in fairness, right? It was just one lie here that Tony Khan was caught in, or perhaps they really did meet and Nick Khan just didn't take notice of him. So we can't fully say that, but I mean, there's obviously been a few things with AEW. But when you're doing a lot of interviews, again, in fairness to Tony Khan, when you're doing a lot of interviews, you say a lot of things. And then sometimes things change and all that stuff. And sometimes you might get confused when there's a camera in your face and you're being asked questions. Trust us, we've all been there ourselves doing this podcast. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not a good look for Tony Khan, and Nick Khan was very smart about how he did this interview. He praised the dad. He somewhat praised Tony Khan, saying he seemed like a nice kid. Obviously, slightly passive aggressive, calling him a kid, but he was smart about this interview. And Nick Khan is very clearly a very, very smart guy.
Yeah, and of course we're going to get all the fanboys. They're like, see, this proves that you can't run a company now, because you're going to have the fanboys lynch onto this one comment like it's the dying Bible.
Yeah, I mean, what this does confirm is that Tony Khan is not buying WWE. That's basically what this interview confirmed. But like we said before, we didn't actually think he was going to buy it. But it's a good business move. And I still think that it is a good business move from AEW, or from Tony Khan, to, hint at the interest, to leak to the media that they're interested, just so then mainstream news companies have to go, WWE's rival company, AEW, is considering buying them. AEW is blah, blah, blah. And explains to some of the casual fans what AEW is. So it was a smart move to, declare interest, but they could have never afforded it to begin with. But yeah, I mean, on the sale front, we haven't spoken about it in the last couple of days. We're not going to be going into it today much, but that's the update, really. There is no updates. We acknowledged the other day about the Vince McMahon lawsuit that could be going on with the Detroit Police Retirement Fund. But yeah, I mean, perhaps that's going to slow things down. But honestly, I'm kind of happy that we're just taking a few days off from talking about the sale. But on the topic of Vince McMahon, unfortunately, that's not all done. Nick Khan also spoke about Vince McMahon returning to WWE television. Nick Khan said, when asked, could Vince return to TV? He said, not at this moment. No is the answer to that question. Could it change in a few months? Sure, it could change. That would be a Paul and Vince being on the same page about it decision. I don't see it happening right now. So that's what Nick Khan said on the matter. Doesn't seem to think that Vince is going to be returning to TV, and I think, honestly, keeping him away from creative, keeping him away from TV in the short term, not in the short term, in the long term even, is absolutely the right decision to do. The only reason I'd ever say to bring him back was for the Hall of Fame, and he's already said countless times he doesn't want to be in the Hall of Fame, so I guess I can't see that happening either. One thing which is quite interesting, though, actually, about this statement was that it would take Paul and Vince being on the same page about it. So once again, Nick Khan is putting an emphasis on what WWE sources are emphasizing to all of us right now in the media, that Triple H is in charge of creative. And they're really, really exaggerating this. And the fact that they're going on about it so much, like we acknowledged the other day, if you have to clarify every other minute that everything's fine, maybe not everything is fine. But I do believe at this moment in time, Triple H is still completely in charge of creative. And let's just hope that it doesn't change. I mean, there was, of course, a comment from Triple H, which said he does talk to Vince about booking and perhaps take suggestions, but the final decisions come down to him. But that in itself does ever so slightly concern me. What do you think, Sol?
I mean, the man should never come back as an on-screen figure at all. I mean, the whole shit he's been involved with, you really don't want that representing your brand, especially when you're going in for a sales, soon enough. I mean, like how he left the last time, the now forever thing, that's just leave it as that. Go into a retirement home, mate. It's done and dusted. You're finished. Come on, leave it alone.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And I mean, then now forever, it's a good way to go out, I guess. But it's just, I mean, actually, was that the last thing that he said? Or was it welcome to Raw? I think it might have actually been like welcome to Raw or something that he actually
okay, we'll put that there on his, the statue of him, just welcome to Raw. Yeah, fine. Make it that.
But I mean, I still think, I don't know. It's a very difficult one because he should not be allowed back in the company. He should not be. He should not be in the position that he's in. He needs to sell the company and get out. That's what he needs to do. Sure, take his money, whatever. But after what he's done, he should not be allowed to come back. He's violated company policy. He was found guilty in an internal investigation. And yet he's now back again. He's forced his way back. It makes the company look like a joke. So once it's sold, hopefully he just, takes his money, leaves. What he has done for wrestling, yes, it's been tainted. But what he's done for wrestling, he's just, it's iconic in so many ways. He has changed professional wrestling for the better. He made WWE, he made sports entertainment. Without Vince McMahon, quite frankly, there wouldn't be an AEW. There wouldn't really be a wrestling industry, right? Like I mean, maybe there would have been, maybe somebody else would have done it, but he brought it all together and pushed it into the mainstream. And then, of course, WCW then went off that and did a similar thing. And then in the end, WWE took over WCW. And there's just so many iconic things that Vince McMahon has done in business. And it really is a shame that his legacy has been tainted. But the facts are the legacy has been tainted. Honestly, right, if he just does the sale, leaves, gets out of there, in 10 years' time, maybe the dark past of Vince McMahon might not be talked about as much, if we're being completely honest, right? Because there's still no proof in any way that he broke the law. He broke company policy, but there's no indication that he did break the proof that he broke the law in trial. Of course, there was a settlement. There was one rape allegation, and that's been settled according to the Wall Street Journal this week. But yeah, apart from that, the others were just he had, affairs with people within the company, which of course you cannot do as a business owner. And it breaks all the rules completely. And then to pay them off hush money, if you're paying off hush money, it shows that, you shouldn't be doing it in itself. But I don't know. I mean, of course, so you've not been as fan as long as a lot of people have been, but how did you feel about Vince McMahon when you started watching wrestling?
God, I mean, this is 2019, so it was the whole Bobby Lashley Lana crap going on. That was just like, I mean, I knew who he was and I understood his magnitude to the company, but I think by the time I was watching it, it was basically just saying this crazy old man's ruining everything, and it was just like he's like the big bad final boss, and then Sunshine over there was AEW, so I was like, I'll take my ball and leave and go to the better one. I mean, I rarely never. I'll say Vince, like, yes, as you said before, without him, there probably wouldn't have been an AEW, an Impact, or any new. Maybe New Japan might have been what it was, but maybe not as prominent with these stars. I mean, we probably wouldn't have had John Cena and Randy Orton and all these other people because of his influence on the business. Yeah, the man was a pioneer, absolutely, but he was a piece of shit.
Yeah. It is disappointing, but it's actually a very interesting perspective that you coming in later as a wrestling fan. You perhaps don't feel the same way, the same connection, I guess, to Vince McMahon that a lot of us did. And I mean, that's faded over the years for everyone. It has done as well. Firstly, the allegations came out, but even before that, with the booking and all that, people got sick of him. But I mean, based on the booking alone, if he retired at that point and it wasn't for these allegations, I think 5 years later, it would be similar to Arsene Wenger at Arsenal, actually. He was there for many, many years. Very, very iconic, but the fans wanted him gone towards the end of his career, and the fan base really turned against him. And eventually, once he left, he became a legend. Everybody was, loving him again, building a statue of him outside the stadium. And yeah, I believe that Vince McMahon, it would have gone full circle if it wasn't for these allegations. Now, I don't know which way it's going to go in the long term, but we'll have to just wait and see. But let's get on to SmackDown. SmackDown is not tomorrow night, tonight, and it's a big show actually, because it's not the go home show for the Rumble. That's next week. But it's the final show before the go-home show. And also, of course, this Monday we have Raw 30, which is going to be a big show in itself. So they've got to get a lot of the Roman, Kevin Owens stuff done fast, because there might not, be that much time for it if they are doing like a potential return of The Rock or something on next Monday's episode of Raw, where they do they bring the family members back, which has of course been announced, which I'm very excited for. Who knows what will happen in that segment? Lots of rumors flying around, whatever. But we'll have to wait till Monday to see what that is. But SmackDown tonight, Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. What are they called as a tag team again?
The Banger Bros.
The Banger Bros. I feel like we're going to get taken off YouTube just for saying that. Like,
well, hey, that's the fans started that stuff. We're saying Sheamus putting on bangers after bangers. So hey, if anyone wants to blame, it's the WWE universe for that.
Bros, Banger Bros. Oh, you know what? I'll leave it at that. But we've got a name. We got an X-rated adult content website versus the Viking Raiders in a first round tournament match for a shot at the SmackDown Tag Team titles. And of course, they're seemingly separating the tag team titles now with the Judgment Day taking on the Usos on Raw 30 on Monday, while the Usos will then defend the SmackDown tag team titles against the winner of this tournament in the near future. Now, one thing which is really interesting about this match is the fact that I don't think either team could lose. I don't understand why they're really facing each other. Considering it's not like it's a big feud that's been built up. You have the Viking Raiders, who are a team which, you brought back Sarah Logan or Valhalla, as you know now, to try and, rebuild them as a tag team. But you're putting them against Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, who will almost certainly win, unless, and this is the only thing which you could speculate, Sheamus or Drew turn on each other. One, has to turn on each other, heel turn, match at the Rumble. If that's the case, then I feel like they've not done enough of a build to it. They should, have a multiple week build, because that would be a big feud to come back to after all of this. But it's just like you've got two tag teams facing each other who I don't think should be facing each other at this moment in time, or I feel like it should be, a feud. Now, perhaps one way you do it is the Viking Raiders win. They then lose next week for some reason. And then Drew McIntyre and Sheamus have a feud with them, and they still can't win, so that in the end, McIntyre and Sheamus split up. I mean, that's the only way I can see you drag it out or something, but I'm still just not too happy with the idea of this match in the slightest. What do you think, so?
I mean, SmackDown or WWE's tag division's crap as it is. There's hardly anyone in there, so... I mean, what was the point of these unified tag titles at all if they're now being defended separately? What did they actually bring to the table except make the Usos look great and have the bloodline over the gold? Essentially, they've done nothing with them. They were pointless. I don't think they're going to turn Drew or Sheamus heel with Money in the Bank coming up. I know it's in a couple of months, but no matter what, when they come to the UK, they're getting cheered, so there's no point they're going to turn them heel. I think this is simply just because we need a tag team tournament thing because it's good TV and we want to get these belts taken off the Usos and separated properly. We have no tag teams. We need to just make some tournament and blocks. That's it at the end of the day, because the tag team division in WWE is bare bones.
It is, but it's getting a bit better now, in fairness. It's felt more important in, the last few months since Triple H has taken over and the Usos have had a very good reign. And like you said, you basically just summed up why they unified the tag team titles. It was because they wanted, the Usos and the Bloodline to seem really powerful and all that, and they unified the world title already, so they decided to do the same with the tag team titles. Now, why are they ununifying them? Because when you have two shows and two different networks, it's an awful idea to have, the same belt on both. That's why it was a bad decision, I guess. But I mean, at the same time, it's whatever. I don't have a huge issue with it, but I'm glad that they are separating them now. But what I will say is, even still, I think that either Drew or Sheamus has to be turning one another. No. I mean, there's no way around it. Even if, Sheamus gets cheered for one night in the UK, I think that's fine. That's months away anyway. I still think it makes a lot more sense to, have them feud. Maybe even at WrestleMania, have Drew and Sheamus have a banger. Have the bros have a banger at WrestleMania. I feel like that'd be a lot more fun than just having the split and then have a match 2 weeks later at the Rumble. Not even 2 weeks later, it'd be a week later basically at the Rumble. It annoys me a lot, to say the least. It really does. I don't know. Well, let's just hope the Banger Bros put on a banger tonight then, and the Viking Raiders
do something.
Week. Yeah, it's. But I do agree with you. They need to rebuild the tag team division, certainly. But I do think they're in the process of doing that. But the main event I don't know if it's the main event, but it probably will be, of SmackDown tonight is Roman Reigns will be signing the contract with Kevin Owens for their match for the WWE Undisputed World Universal Heavyweight Championship, whatever they are calling it this week at the Rumble. It's gonna be an interesting one. But I mean, the main story really going into the segment is that, of course, Sami Zayn last week was facing Kevin Owens, and they were putting on quite a good match. Sami Zayn he was ready to hit the haluva kick. Sami Zayn thought finally for Roman Reigns, he was going to be able to take out Kevin Owens and really, take out the honorary from the Usos and just become a Uso. He was, all ready to hit the haluva kick, so hyped up for it. And bang, the Bloodline, the Usos, and Solo Sikoa come in and they take out Kevin Owens. And of course, it was a blatant setup. Paul Heyman told Sami Zayn earlier in the night that the Bloodline were not in the building because they had, other commitments, and that Roman Reigns wanted Sami Zayn to settle it on his own. He didn't want to settle it on his own. What Roman Reigns wanted was for, to do maximum damage to Kevin Owens and for him not to expect it. So that's what they did. Sami Zayn did not look happy. He still did throw up the one at the end of the night. Where's the camera there? Where he did throw up the one. But he was very hesitant about throwing up the one. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Kevin Owens is going to be involved in this contract segment tonight. And when is that turn coming? Because Elimination Chamber isn't too far away now, and that's in Canada, and that's where, we've all expected all along that it's going to be Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn, the big blow-off match. And I'm excited for it. A lot of people are excited for it. But perhaps the turn could happen tonight. Perhaps the wheel's in motion for the turn happen tonight. Perhaps Kevin Owens says something to Sami like, look what happened last week, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be an interesting one. And we've said it. We've said it now. The Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn have been the MVPs of SmackDown for the last year. And the story is almost reaching its climax. I've been really enjoying it. But what do you think, Sol?
I don't care for this at all. I don't really care for this contract thing because I know Kevin's not going to win it in the Rumble. I know they're not going to have Roman drop it to someone he's already lost before at Rumble. Was it last year?
So, okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you real quick here, right? How many AEW title matches have there been, which is clear as day the title's not changing hands?
Yeah, that's fine, but it's still it's not like they've lost against them before. Like Hangman and Dante Martin, they never faced each other for the title before. And I know it's obviously not going to change hands, but he's not faced it before, and we're not having it on again because the roster's so thin and Roman's beat everybody and he's just dominant. I know what this is just when this comes onto the Rumble, I'm just gonna leave my screen, come back when the ending, and probably know Sammy's gonna turn or something like that. I don't really see any point in watching the match.
Every match they've had has been an absolute banger, firstly, and secondly, in fairness to them, right? It is right that Roman's run through the entire roster, which is where they need to take the titles off him fairly soon. But in fairness to him, in fairness to WWE, Kevin Owens was the one who's probably come the closest. Kevin Owens got screwed in the Thunderdome when they did that match. In fact, technically speaking, if it wasn't for the mistake in the ref having to stop counting,
oh yeah, he would have won.
Yeah. So technically speaking, out of anybody who deserves a rematch, it is Kevin Owens. I have no problem with it at all. I'm hyped for the match every time they face each other, which is actually usually at a Rumble because they did it in 2017 too, which was another banger of a match. Every time it's been a banger, so I have absolutely no issues with it.
And what I'll say to that is we know. See, the thing with AEW is they only have 4 pay-per-views of the year, so it could be any pay-per-view that you feel like someone could lose the World Championship at. With WWE, they've got 8 or 9, so you have to tacticianly look at the map and be like, all right, it's going to be this one, or this one. Why would I bother watching this one or this one or this one? Because I know no storyline progression is going to really happen. I think it's going to be a WrestleMania, but I do think the person that's going to take the titles off Roman for best storyline purpose should be Sami Zayn.
I agree. I do agree. I absolutely agree.
I give the all rubbish. I'm not saying I like it, but for the Bloodline storyline to have the best conclusion, it has to be Sami, because I would be even though I will say it right now. No matter what AEW could do this year, I think the Bloodline storyline, if it goes with that conclusion, will be the best storyline of the year, hands down. And even for me to say that, that
I know,
it's true. It's true. I know MJF's whole run thing will be fun and entertaining. The Bryan 1-hour Iron Man match, I can't wait to see that. That's going to be entertaining. But the Bloodline storyline has such a build and such a presence. And I will admit, Sami Zayn has been putting in the work of his life in this honorary stuff as well. He needs to win it, or the storyline was for nothing.
Yeah. No, I do agree, but I don't think it's for nothing. I think it's been great TV. And I mean, you can always do KO and Sami Zayn and back together as a tag team, full circle, and take one of the tag team titles off. Well, you can take the SmackDown tag team titles off of the Usos at WrestleMania. That's one thing which you could do, and that would be quite fun. But I do agree it should be Sami. I do fully agree with that. But I don't think the storyline's a waste if that's not the case. But I do disagree with you on the fact that we know it's going to happen at WrestleMania, because if he was to face The Rock at WrestleMania, like a lot of people are speculating, if that was to happen, then surely The Rock isn't winning the title, so surely it'd be somebody else. And no way are you keeping it on him until Survivor, or not sorry, overseas, to SummerSlam.
No,
No
no.
way can you keep. I honestly think the pay-per-view following WrestleMania would be the one where Roman Reigns perhaps loses or something like that. So admittedly, in the build-up to WrestleMania, it is somewhat predictable because we know that Roman's going to walk into LA as champion, right? That is probably almost certainly true. But in fairness, I don't think that all the other pay-per-views are a waste. And also, you don't just watch pay-per-view for the main event. You watch it for the other feuds on the cards. And the WWE pay-per-views this year overall have been fantastic. Hell in a Cell was brilliant. And that was before Triple H even took over. The one which we went to, of course, Clash at the Castle, that was brilliant. SummerSlam was really good. Survivor Series, War Games was fantastic. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all the ones we had. Crown Jewel, of course, Crown Jewel was really fun as well. We had some really good pay-per-views from WWE this year. All of them are better than All Out.
Because All Out was bad. It was just bad. That's look. I mean, I still remember when I was saying at Clash of the Castle in the crowd, like, I can't wait for All Out in 24 hours, and I was regrettable. That was a false statement by me. But like, I don't know. I just don't feel the connection to it. Maybe that's just because I'm not watching the WWE product weekly, and I don't feel a big connection to it. That's probably a factor as well. I mean, some other people feel, and I can fully understand that. But to me, I just feel like with WrestleMania being 2 nights, Roman has to work double duty because he's got 2 different championships. You're not going to have him do, just be only one night and then something else as well, because you've got 2 championships to defend.
Well, it's unified. It's unified.
Well, unified. Well, I feel like they're going to split them anyway, because what can they do? They're now splitting the SmackDown and Raw tag team titles. Why don't they just do it with the World Championship? They've just shot themselves in the foot with this whole unified, and now they're ununified. So what's the thing? So I
agree with that.
I'll say, like, that's going to be another hindrance on the Bloodline storyline for me. It's just that they had these both unified titles. They should have introduced a one singular design, and that would be like, this is our design now. We own this. This is ours. But yeah, that's just a weak point of the whole Bloodline storyline for me. This whole unified title rubbish.
No, I do agree there. I think what they'll do is, because that's what they've been doing every year anyway, really. I think they'll have the women's title match main event one night, well, the first night, and then Roman main event the second. I don't think he's going to be doing double duty, but who knows? Everything seems to be up in the air with WWE right now, which in a way is exciting, if I'm being honest. WrestleMania season, we don't know what's going to happen. It feels like, being kids again. But that's it for today's show, guys. It's been a banger. It's been Friday, 20th of January, 2023, and we'll be back tomorrow on Saturday, January 21st, 2023. Tomorrow Clark will be back as well. He's had a day off today, well-deserved day off. He's been flipping on a god for, I don't even know when the last time he had a day off was. I think it was like 10 days ago now, because he didn't take Monday off this week. But anyway, we'll be back tomorrow, and it'll be a great show. Thank you, Soul, for joining me, and thank you, everybody in the comments who's left a comment today or just viewed it, left a like, whatever. Thank you. Make sure to tune in every day to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. Thank you, everybody.
All the best.